Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well and welcome to this video. If you are new here, which you most likely are, welcome. My name is Jad and this is a brand new channel for me. So if you do enjoy this type of content and you are interested in anything investment based, side hustle based, business based, please subscribe to this channel as I'm a big nerd for these kind of topics and I really hope that will show in my coming videos. But essentially in today's video, this is going to be a bit more of a different topic which not a lot of people talk about, especially people in the finance community and really especially people in the UK finance community. But it's about halal investing. As a Muslim, I know this will not be applicable to everyone watching this. This is going to be only applicable to a minority of people in the community. However, as a Muslim, I noticed that the whole investing world can be quite tricky and quite complicated, especially with the different types of stocks out there and really determining what stocks are halal and what stocks are haram. As inherently, there is nothing at all wrong with investing in the stock market. You are pretty much just buying a share of a company. The whole risk comes from investing in companies which are haram and which would make their profit from means which we're not allowed to. For example, if you were to buy a traditional ETF like the S&P 500, although a lot of those companies in that S&P 500 would be halal, a lot of them would also be haram. You know, in that big basket of stocks of the S&P 500, there would be companies which deal with alcohol, companies which deal with gambling, which deal with weapons manufacturing, tobacco manufacturing, and the list goes on, you know, and banks as well. I think banks is a big one people forget about, as banks charge interest, which obviously we cannot profit from. So I was kind of left with a challenge after discovering this, and I was really thinking, what should I invest in? You know, there's a lot of different advice out there, and pretty much, if I'm being honest with you, I was browsing Reddit forums, seeing what different people think, and you know that was not the good advice to take. And even now you're watching this video, I'm guessing to learn more information, and I can only share what I found works best for me. Please definitely do your own research, but this is going to hopefully give you a bit more of a better idea of what you can do. So really my whole investment strategy is I don't want to invest in single stocks. I find that single stocks are quite risky, and I would much rather invest in a ETF, which if you don't know what that means, is essentially a fund containing a whole basket of stocks. So rather than paying £100 to own one stock of Microsoft, that £100 would be divided into £4 of Amazon, £3 of Apple, £2 of Google, £1 of Facebook, etc., etc. The list goes on. My whole strategy was, ideally, I wanted to invest in, first of all, halal stocks, and I wanted to invest in an ETF, which will hopefully lower my risk. Looking at all the different providers in the UK, I found that Trading 212 was the platform which offered the most variety of Islamic ETFs. If we just hop over to Trading 212 now, you can see at least how my portfolio is doing. And if you just go to the search bar at the bottom, you can simply search Islamic. And what this will do is it will display all the Islamically Shariah compliant ETFs in one screen for you. Hello all, future me here. I just want to say this is not investment advice. This is just what I use. So please do your own research and make your own decisions. So rather than buying something like the S&P 500, you could buy, for example, the iShares MSCI USA Islamic, which will essentially track all the companies in the S&P 500, which are halal and generate a halal income for you. You can see that the results are a bit different to what the S&P 500 would do, as we are obviously excluding companies like alcohol companies, cigarette companies and banks. However, this would inshallah keep your investments halal. You can see how it's performed over time from the bottom of COVID all the way until now, and it has gone up in a steady trajectory. Not to mean that this will continue going up, but just to kind of give you an overview of how it's been doing. And you've got different funds for all of these different things. So you've got the World Islamic Stocks, USA Islamic, World Islamic, and the list really goes on. The main provider I'm invested in is the Invesco Dow Jones Islamic Global Developed Markets, as I think this mimics the S&P 500 and the FTSE All World the best. You can see if we're comparing to let's say we go and we want to compare how this is doing to a traditional FTSE All World fund, just search up FTSE All World. Over the past year, the All World is up 7.5%. And the Islamic version of the All World is up 9.3%. Looking at the graph, the trajectory is kind of similar. You know, you've got those same up points, those same down points. And I found this mimics the market the best. You know, here you've got big stocks like Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, Google, etc. And I just really like how the portfolio is a bit less reliant on one single stock, as I found that when compared to something like this, over 25% of your portfolio is in Microsoft, which is a huge amount to have just in one single stock. If we hop over to the Invesco, this is pretty much their page. You can see the top 10 holdings, and you've got things like, rather than Microsoft in the previous ETF having a 27% weight, here it's only 7%. You've got Nvidia at 7%, Apple, Amazon, Meta, Broadcom, and pretty much you've got exposure to a lot of different stocks in a lot of different markets. I believe there's over about 1,500 different stocks in this, which is absolutely insane. Yeah, 1,560. So at least for me, this was the best path to go down. You are very USA based, but I think that's pretty much the way the market goes. Over 78% in the USA. And you've got a few other different markets there. Now, I think a key thing to keep in mind with these Islamic ETFs is that although inshallah your earnings will be halal and inshallah the money you'll make will be halal, please do your own research. Don't just trust me blindly. The con is that these funds do charge a bit more. So the main ETF I'm invested in, I believe the fund fee is about 0.4% annually when compared to something like the S&P 500 from Vanguard, which is about 0.1 or 0.08. You are paying a lot more in fees, but I guess that's kind of the price you have to pay if you want to go through more of these specific Islamic focused funds. I know if you're on a few different other platforms, the only other platform I invest in is Moneybox in the UK. They do have an Islamic equivalent. However, the fees on that are about 0.7% annually, 0.6% or 0.7, which is a huge amount to pay on fees annually. However, I do use that for my lifetime ISA, so it's kind of the only option I have going forward. I know this was a very short video, and it was more or less to give you all a summary of how I do my investing and inshallah how I keep my investing halal, and potentially where you all can look for investments if you're looking to get into it but worried whether it will be halal or whether it will be haram. If any of you have any other Islamic ETF funds you'd recommend, please leave them down in the comments. I'm very interested to know how you guys go about investing. Do you invest in these ETFs? Do you simply invest in single stocks? How do you approach it as a Muslim going into investing? Please let me know. I'm definitely open to learning from all of you, as I myself have got into investing about 3 months ago, so definitely a lot more to learn, but hopefully this video was somewhat helpful for all of you, and I hope to see you all in the next one.